And this helps to clean the effluent and take out a lot of the bacteria and pathogens that are in the effluent itself. So it makes it really does work pretty good. And that's one of the emphases about septic systems is they do remove a lot more than cesspools. So I just wanted to bring that up. There's a little handout if you picked it up, but there's a video online that's really, really great that we found that, I don't know, I think Washington State did it, but it's called Septics 101, and it's on YouTube, and you just Google it and on YouTube, and it'll show up, and there's a work, and she shows you exactly how to check your system. So, because we do require that you check them annually. So every year you should try and open it up and check to see if you need to pump it. Because once the tank gets full of solids, if those solids start leaving the tank and you haven't pumped it because now it's full, that will plug up your absorption bed. And unfortunately, once that gets plugged up, there's really no fixing that. Now you have to take it all out and start over, and it's very expensive. And also for your landscaping, there's a lot of things that you should try to avoid. If you have a really nice yard, you should keep this in mind because it costs a lot of money it's a big mess, right? You take it out, you have a lot of excavating, and some people, their lots are really small on Kauai, so that machinery in and out of your home and everything will, take a lot of work. So it's best if you can try and keep your septic systems maintained. And they should last, 20 to 30 years. Most of them will last that long if you take care of them. So in your lifetime, you shouldn't have to change out your septic system, they say. So I just wanted to get a little plug on taking care of your septic systems while a lot of people don't really realize that you need to do that. So I just want to get into the cesspools. So I know a lot of you here are here to hear about the new rules. So we just passed some new rules. It's also on the sheet under Hawaii administrative rules is where Department of Health's rules are, where the laws governing it come from. You can see those online. I also have that on the sheet. At health.hawaii.gov. You can go to our website, and we have a lot of information on there. And the rules are on there also. They're online. You can read them word for word if you want, if you have a lot of time on your hands. So you can read those online, and there is one thing that gives like a synopsis of what the new rules entail. Those just came into effect on March 21st. The biggest change for Hawaii, but not Kauai, was there are no new cesspools allowed. Actually, on the Big Island, we have been allowing new cesspools for new homes for all of this time. Kauai hasn't been doing it since 2004, but the Big Island has been allowed to do it. So that's one of the biggest changes in the rules is there's no more cesspools for new projects allowed on the Big Island. So we haven't been able to do that here for a while. So the second thing was, so I also have on there about some of the changes that are taking place. So basically, if you add bedrooms to your home now, anyone who's on a cesspool will need to upgrade that to a septic system when you come in for building modifications. So Department of Health has no mandates at this time for people to upgrade from cesspool to septic. So there's no one going to come to you or write you a letter and tell you you have to upgrade today from cesspool to septic. That's not going to happen in this, under these new rules. That's not a mandate. So basically, when you come in, if you want to do home modifications, and I think that's why they've invited us here today, if you come in for county building permitting, that gets reviewed by Department of Health. So when I take those and look into those, then that's when we'll be determined whether you need to upgrade. So there won't be any mandates as far as people near the shoreline or anything, but there will be when you come in for that. So you need to keep that in mind, even if you have a home that you don't plan to do any work now, you should keep that in mind in the future, because a lot of people are, they have plans for their homes, or they want to, add stuff to their homes over time. And those are probably something you should think about budgeting for, because septic systems are pretty expensive. I think they range, up to $20,000 now, because you have to pay for an engineer to do your design for you. And then you, of course, have to hire a contractor to install it. So it's a pretty expensive project. So that's probably a good budgeting for now. I don't know, what the costs will be in the future, but if you're planning on doing any kind of work to your house in the next, 4 or 5 years, that might be a good number to, budget for. So, so the second part of it, so the biggest thing was the bed. So anyone who wants to add a bedroom-like room to a home, and Department of Health counts all the rooms. So we count the offices, playrooms, dens, rooms that are enclosed. So, so that's a little bit of a confusion point for people, because they think, well, if I call it something, then, that's it.
Not a new hurricane room, though.
No, so safe room wouldn't count because it doesn't have windows, So basically a bedroom-like room has windows that open. It has over 70 square feet of room, so a teeny tiny laundry room or something wouldn't count. So it basically has and it has kind of an enclosed space, so it has to be able to be used for sleeping, kind of.
Would be counted too.
I'm sorry?
Tool sheds.
Yeah, not a tool shed, so that's not part of the house. Huh?
With windows in.
Small ones for ventilation.
Yeah, so basically the window size is 10% of the floor area. So say you have a 100 square foot room, you could have up to 10 square feet of windows and it not be counted as a bedroom, because that would be considered storage by Department of Health. So you can have rooms that are storage that don't have openable windows, or so that's a little bit technical, but but that's basically our definition of a bedroom like room. So just keep that in mind when you're making your floor plans, when you go to your draftsman or whatever and you want to look into it. Sorry, where was I at? So after you come in for your building permitting, it comes to Department of Health for review. And so I use that to look to make sure you're not building on your cesspool, that you're keeping your setbacks to your if you have septic, you keep your setbacks, your cesspool, you keep setbacks. So we look at all of those things when they come in. So it's kind of important, because we don't want you to build, and you probably don't want to build on your thing, and you might not. A lot of people don't think about those, because it's out of sight, out of mind. So a lot of people don't think about that when they do their plans. So do keep that in mind. If you want to know where yours is, you can try to find out. I'm the one who keeps the records at Department of Health for where your wastewater systems are. So you wouldn't be able to find those with the county. There's a little confusion that people, look around. I can't find where I'm trying to find my cesspool or septic system. But you can come to Department of Health, and I left a form over there that you can fill out and submit to Department of Health. You can email it to me, or fax it, or bring it in, and we can give you a copy of your plans for where your cesspool is and your septic is. So so that will help you make your plans better.
How far back does those records go?
I'm sorry?
How far back does those records go
Records?
in terms of the year?
For the cesspools, they go back. They go back pretty much to when we became a state. So there are ones that are even older than that, but it seems to be those are. But it kind of depends on the property owner needed to call Department of Health to do that inspection. So if you find out that you don't have a record, it doesn't really mean doesn't mean anything in terms of keeping you from doing anything, but you may get that back, that I don't have any records, and that just means that nobody ever called Department of Health to do a record for it. And if you know where it is, you can always put that on file with us, which we like. So so
It would cost you. But you have to hire somebody to record your systems.
Yeah.
And they'll charge you for it.
Okay, so Joe's here. Joe and I took Joe's job when he retired a number of years ago, so he's with us today. So no pressure on me, right? Okay, so also, so it's part of the rules also were that if your cesspool is in the groundwater already, and most people don't really understand what that means. I get that a lot. What does that mean? That basically means when they were digging your cesspool, they just kept digging. They dug until they hit water. And Kauai does have a lot of shallow groundwater here. We just have a lot of streams, and this is probably the most, the island with the most streams. I guess that's why they call us the Garden Island. So, but a lot of cesspools here are in the groundwater. I would say probably at least 25 to 30% of people's cesspools are in the groundwater. And if your cesspool is in the groundwater, Department of Health will require you to upgrade that. So basically the biggest change would be that we won't allow really any building permitting until you have to upgrade that. And you'll need to do it before we give you the building permit because we want to make sure that it gets done. So that's a pretty big, hurdle to get past. So if you wanted to put a deck on your house, you wouldn't be able to do that. So all of these even minor type of modifications to your home, because Department of Health considers cesspools to be, they're untreated wastewater that's, getting into our streams and waterways. So, so that's the biggest things with the rules. And we also have a tax credit that is available to property owners whose cesspools are currently within 200 feet of a stream or ocean. So that's pretty close though. So if you're on the ocean or you're next to a stream, that tax credit is available to you. And you can see it again on our website. There's forms online that you can apply for that. And it's up to $10,000 tax credit. So that's part of the new rules too, was a way for Department of Health to administer this tax credit. And we just started, so we haven't done any yet, I don't think. It just went into effect on March 21st. So so we're getting ready to start that if your property falls in that category, And they have so much money, but if the money runs out, I think it's like $5 million this year. If the money runs out and you put your septic in this year, then you can apply for the next year. And I think it lasts until 2020. So it's not quite a time crunch yet for property owners to get that. But it's, like I said, 200 feet is pretty close. So, so those are the biggest changes in the rules that we have going. Does anybody, I guess I can open up the question. I know people have a lot of questions.
Well, not to beat it to death, but what if you wanted to build a detached workshop? Would you have to upgrade from a cesspool?
If your cesspool's in the groundwater, any kind of building permitting would do. If it's not, it would depend on, are you going to put plumbing in it? That's one thing that we look for, kind of thing. And one other thing that has been in effect from 2005 that a lot of people don't know about is there's a federal law that doesn't allow 2 dwellings on one cesspool. So if you're a property and you have a duplex, even if it's inside your own house, so some people have a downstairs unit and an upstairs unit that they rent out. You'll find that all over the place, Those cesspools have been banned since 2005. So if you're a property owner who has one of those, you are probably already in violation of a federal law that the EPA administers. So the state of Hawaii doesn't administer it, but the federal government does. But if you come in for building permitting and I find that you have this large capacity cesspool, I of course can't I won't allow you to make a large capacity cesspool by adding an ADU or, so that's why we have these requirements too. I know a lot of people have been surprised when they come in and they have to upgrade to septic when they add even if it's already there. Some people, they come in and they've already have it there and now they want to make it, legal. that doesn't really play an effect for us. But so the large capacity cesspool rule is something to keep in mind. And so it kind of depends on that. So sometimes when people bring in plans, I'm going to look for that. Like I haven't been allowing bar sinks, if you're on a cesspool, because, that just, kind of calls out to us that we're going to try and, maybe rent this out, or, why do you need a bar sink when you have a kitchen, kind of thing. So we just kind of look for those things that keep people from, putting themselves in violation, or not only them, but the people who buy the property from them later. Because a lot of people find out after they buy property that there's a lot of violations, that people haven't done it correctly. So we try to look out for even future property owners about making things that are illegal. So does anyone else?
Would that also apply to a detached building that people sleep in but doesn't have a kitchen?
Yeah,
No.
well,
It would.
No plumbing?
Yeah, no plumbing. Just a sleeping room.
That's the shed.
I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions on their own individual projects, and that's why I put the public record request, so that I can specifically address your property, because we talked about if your cesspool's in the groundwater, how are you going to know that? You're not really going to know that without, going to Department of Health to find out. So if that's the best way to find out, about your own property, and for me to make a better decision about how to, direct you in your project and before you get started. Because it is a good thing to check with us before you start a project, because it costs money to get a draftsperson, and a lot of times they're not going to say anything. They're not going to say anything because you're paying them money, and let's face it, that's how they make their living. So they're not going to tell you, they're not going to try to discourage you from going forward with your project before you even start, because, that's their business, is to do plans. So just a little bit of a note of, you would think that people would say something, but I haven't found that to be completely true. So just a warning.
If we have a lot with 2 houses, with each have their own cesspool. If we wanted to CPR it, could we do that?
Yeah,
Or
yes.
do you have to upgrade to septic?
No, that would be no requirement to upgrade to septic. Department of Health, actually the county also doesn't recognize CPR lines. We recognize subdivisions. Even a subdivision wouldn't require it. We would make sure that you meet the setbacks to the property lines, but it wouldn't require you to upgrade. But
So you're remodeling, you're not changing structural things, but you're changing the dimensions of the bathroom, like to accommodate a tub instead of a stall shower. Does that require permitting? Because you're not adding rooms or facilities, you're just interchanging a shower with a tub.
yeah, I'm not sure if some projects don't, I don't work for the county building department, but they will be here. My understanding is they will be here. So not all projects require building permitting. You can do kitchen remodeling and flooring and a lot of things without getting building permits. I'm not sure, it doesn't sound like that would require, it might require a plumbing permit. You can pull, if y'all want to move a sink or something, the county does give what they call, the kind of a smaller permit, just your plumber pulls a plumbing permit to do that work, or they pull a electrical permit to do lighting or something. So that isn't quite the same as going through the whole building permit. You don't need a lot of agencies for that. They only need that one guy to say it's okay. So in your case, it may just be a plumbing permit, sounds like.
In the case where your property is in a high groundwater area, and your engineer decides you're gonna need a rubber treatment unit, is it necessary to install an ultraviolet light treatment system past the treatment unit to discharge into the groundwater?
Yes, we have required chlorination before, but I guess with the development of these UV light chlorination, we have been requiring that. So that's kind of a newer thing, but yeah, the boss said, yeah, got to be UV. So I hope they'll work okay. I'm a little concerned about it because Kauai is so small and getting people to do work on things is not as easy as it is in Oahu,
I
but
think the main reason is because they don't want the chlorine to contaminate, affect the fish or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
yeah. And I think part of it was some of the chlorination was, different than what it was supposed to be. They would put the tablets in or whatever, and those are not, what they it was intended for, but people were using those, so.
I know it's kind of new, this change, but do you know if it's also required to get a variance for those situations?
You shouldn't need a variance unless you were doing something that doesn't meet our rules. So if you say a lot of times you need a variance if you don't have enough room to put it, like you're too tight to the house, like we have a 5-foot setback to the house. If you can't meet that, then Department of Health has something they call variance. And it's a kind of a long process. It's not, it's not just a rubber stamp because you have to put it in the newspaper and everything. So it's a little bit of a, humbug, they would say. But yeah, it shouldn't be required just for an aerobic unit. Does anyone else have any?
Will you address selling a property with a cesspool?
I know a lot of people are confused about that because earlier last year we did put forth we did go forth with some rules that we're going to try to change that so that when you sold your property you'd need to upgrade. But that was voted down. The governor wouldn't sign it, so it never went into effect. So that's off the table. The idea I thought was pretty good, but a lot of realtors didn't like it because it would affect their sales. But I think the idea behind it was money's changing hands, and this is a good time to spend that money on your wastewater system. Money's actually, so there is money on the table to do this. Whereas if you're a homeowner, that whole chunk of change coming out of your pocket today, that's a lot of money, $20,000. So I think that was the idea behind it. And a lot of other states do that, but we didn't do that. But
On cesspools failures, what is considered a cesspool failure, and would that trigger the upgrading of the system?
Yeah, well, when your system gets where there's nothing else you can do with it, then that's a cesspool failure, sometimes they'll collapse,
How much in terms of number of pumpings like that in a year?
Well, we consider it twice in a year to be starting to fail. I mean, if you could get by with twice a year and that was it, but a lot of times when you start pumping frequently, it starts getting more frequently, and so you might want to, if you start having problems with your cesspool and you've done everything that, then you'll probably need to start budgeting for how you're going to put in a septic
But it's
system.
not part of your rule that automatically triggers the requirement for upgrading to a septic system?
No, if you come in for building permitting and we know that this cesspool has had a lot of failure in the past, and usually that involves complaints from the neighbors and those kind of things, then we would make you upgrade before we give you the building permitting, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Just to let you know, there's a couple bills that are in the state legislature. Both have crossed over. It relates to the income tax credit for cesspool upgrades. It's relating to that law that just went into effect. And it's putting it at, for people that make a certain amount of money, that they wouldn't qualify for it. So
Okay.
just kind of, if you guys make a lot of money, get on it fast.
Yeah, because a lot of the properties that are along the ocean, I think people were a little annoyed because, those people would qualify for a tax credit when, it's a $5 million home. But to be honest with you, those are the ones that are contaminating our ocean. So we would, I still thought it was a good idea to offer it because they're not doing it anyway, But
All right, can you repeat that, I guess, maximum size space for an office and the window size?
okay, so we call the room, basically, I know a lot of people think that you would base your decision on how many fixture count you have or how many bathrooms you have. I know that seems a little intuitive, but that's not really the way Department of Health looks at it. We look at it like for bedroom count, because we figure that's how many more people are living in your home, as opposed to bathrooms just being the way that it gets decided. So a bedroom-like room is a room that, he wanted me to repeat this, is greater than 70 square feet, 70. It has openable windows, and the openable windows have to be greater than 10% of the floor area. And it needs to have like privacy. So we don't count kitchens or garages or living rooms or, those kind of rooms. It needs to be, if it's open to the rest of your common area, then we wouldn't count that room. So it kind of needs to be more enclosed. But a lot of offices and family rooms, if you kind of plan it ahead, that's why it's good to think about beforehand, because sometimes you can avoid putting a room on this side. If you walk through it to get to the bedroom, then it's okay. Like if you come upstairs into the family room and then into a bedroom, that wouldn't be counted. So it's it's nice to think about, because sometimes people put a family room on this side and, the bedroom on this side, but then that ends up getting counted. So, kind of think about your design for how you're going to work it.
If it's
Anyway.
permitted with planning as a home office, will you acknowledge that planning's determination, or you don't?
No. Yeah, Department of Health doesn't really care what you call it, I guess is what we say. We don't really care what you call the room, because we're basically trying to keep you and your neighbors from having a problem with your system, because overloading your system would just create, a nuisance condition for, public health issue for those around you.
I'm a draftsman and I have customers, and can I send them to the Board of Health to check if they had to put a sewer or septic tank, or, can I have them to go directly to the Board of Health to check?
Yeah, sure. I have some forms back here if you want to take one and hand them out. And basically, you could email it to me or send it to me, and I would, if you have your TaxMat key, I should be able to help you a little better about whether you need to upgrade. Because we were talking earlier that if you're going to add a bedroom to your home, a few people came in late, but if you're going to add any bedroom to your home, or bedroom-like room to your home, then you'll have to upgrade to septic automatically under these new rules.
I had one where they enclosed the garage.
Yeah.
Enclose the garage. Then
That sounds like it would qualify, yeah. So, enclosing your garage usually means it's not open to the rest of the house, Kind of, maybe, but usually that would mean you'd have to upgrade. And then also, if your cesspool's in the groundwater already, then you'll have to upgrade no matter what you propose to do. So basically, you can look at it this way. The Department of Health will not allow properties to put value. We're not going to let you put more value into a home where the cesspool's already in the groundwater, because we want you to put your money towards, upgrading that cesspool to septic instead of, towards the new renovation instead, So I know a lot of people think septic systems are expensive, and they are. But I just want to point out, new roofs and those kind of things, they're also expensive. So sometimes you got to think about the infrastructure of your home. Yeah, it is expensive, but if your roof was leaking, then you would fix that. I think we spent $15,000 on our roof. So, okay. Does anyone else have questions or?
Actually, I do. What is the future? So say this is kind of like phase one of, having to convert cesspools. I know the EPA is coming down really hard on Hawaii, because we have probably the most cesspools in the country.
We do.
What's going to happen next?
Well, I can't speak for the EPA. I'm not sure. I would think that because most of the states in the country haven't allowed new cesspools. Cesspools are illegal in most states from the 70s. So we're way, way beyond and allowing new cesspools until just now is, I was amazed they got a lot of pushback for that. So I think that Department of Health is going to continue to try and get people to upgrade. And I don't know, I figure maybe there'll be some more mandates from the EPA about properties that are within watersheds, probably would be the next round of rule upgrades. So if you're near a waterway, then you should probably think about what you're going to do. And also, I would encourage the community to talk to your mayor and your county council about putting in more sewer. Because I know these are expensive projects, but at this time, the county has no plans to put in more additional sewer plants on Kauai. I find this amazing. I'm sorry, but and the water department has 20-year plan for how they're going to work on their infrastructure, but wastewater division for the county has no plans to add sewer, even in areas where there's sewer capacity. So basically, right now we have a sewer plant in Waimea. There's a sewer plant in Elieli, and so most of Elieli and Hanapepe are on sewer, and most of Waimea is on sewer. Lahui is if you guys live in Lahui, but part of Lahui is not on sewer, even though there's plenty of capacity for sewer. And Kapa'a is mostly just the commercial. So Wailua and Kapa'a, where people live, is not on sewer. And those are actually the highest risk areas for that are come up as being the highest risk for contaminating our groundwater and our drinking water, because the homes are so concentrated and everyone's still on cesspool. So those people, I think, should really try to push toward it. I know a lot of people don't want to because it's expensive, and also then they would have sewer bills. Most people enjoy not having a sewer bill. But I would encourage it. It's going to keep development, if you from being able to do much for your house without putting on sewer.
We are looking for
Or you may have already mentioned it. When is it going to be, you can't put any new ones in, or when is it going to be phased out completely, where they're going to?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, when we tried to do it when you sold your house, we got a huge pushback. So, and even just making no new cesspools on the Big Island, I don't know if you saw on the news, some of the legislators were, eco-fascist was the word used for Department of Health for not allowing new cesspools. So I don't think in Hawaii that, there's anyone, I would think they would need a change in administration to make it a priority, but it doesn't, it's an expensive,
Hi, Lori, I came late, but, sorry, so maybe you've already covered this, but is there any kind of funding that's available from the federal government, from the state, for any of these mandates?
Yeah, the only...
For the properties that are considered high risk.
The only one that just recently was passed was a tax credit for properties where the cesspool is within 200 feet of a stream or ocean. And then there's some properties that are near a well, but I don't, if you're near a well, that you should check with me also, but within 200 feet. So it's really close. If you're really close to a stream or ocean, then you should look into doing it now, because there's a tax credit that's available from now until 2020, and it's a $10,000 tax credit. So it's a pretty good tax credit for those.
Each year, in other words, that
Yeah.
credit the way I understand it, that credit sometimes doesn't get used up, so you can keep it and use it over the period.
Yeah, my understanding is, that you would be able to do that, but I'm not an expert on that part, though, so. Okay.
If a person wanted to stay updated on these laws, how would we do that?
Well, we always have public hearings before we have like this. We also have public hearings for this, and they're in the newspaper when we do it. We just passed laws, so I don't think it'll be for a while before. The last set of laws was passed in 2004, so this is 2016. So usually it's a while, but it probably would depend on how much pressure they're getting from the EPA to do more upgrading, But right now, you can go to our website at health.hawaii.gov, and it'll have our rules now, and if we have any proposals on there, it has all the information that Wastewater Branch is doing. Or there's also some information on there. There's a lot of information on there about, you know, the risk to our groundwater from cesspools. There's a really long paper on there. It's interesting to read, and so there's a lot of stuff on there that if you're interested in this topic, that from an environmental standpoint, that you can read on there. So anyway, like I said, if you have questions about your own property, you can get the form and fill it out and send it to me at Department of Health, and I'll try to help you best I can. And thank you for your time. I guess I'm done.